First of all, thank you, Mbep, for having me here this morning. And thank you, Chancellor Lariv. It's great to meet you. And then most importantly, thank you, Tara, for your incredible leadership, not only with this organization, but across the state, really making the Triple E a reality on the ground. And your leadership is something that we really value. And we've learned more about you and your team through the California Jobs for All program over the last few months. Let me start briefly talking about OPR, the governance, before I talk about the California Jobs First, the Governance Office of Planning and Research, because our office is also transforming because of the incredible time we're in and the incredible opportunity that we have that Tara just mentioned. OPR was established in 1970 for the first time as the state's lead agency over comprehensive land use planning and the state agency responsible for the research, planning, and innovation in California's governance. You may recognize us as the place where you call to either submit for CEQA or complain about CEQA. Or as a policy lead for general plans for local jurisdictions across the state. However, as a growing organization over 300 individuals, I joined about exactly 2 years, a month ago today, and my office has grown about 350%. And we have over close to 350 individuals. The reason is both the governor and the legislature recognize the incredible time we're in and issues that we need to address, from climate to equity to economic opportunities and significant investments. So as a result, our mandates have expanded, affording us the opportunity to develop transformative policies and strategies to address some of California's most significant challenges. Currently, our office is home to, just to list a few, home to the following: the California Strategic Growth Council, which oversees direct investment programs you may have heard of, such as the Transformative Climate Communities Program, Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities. This year, we awarded the record $757 million for 21 green projects in affordable housing, just in that one program. And the new Community Resiliency Centers program under SGC. The State Policy and Planning Department oversees our CEQA clearinghouse, general plan guidelines, and land use, our climate resilience grant programs, and the $600 million California Jobs First program. The Office of Community Partnership and Strategic Communications, which the governor created last year at OPR, manages the state's highest priority public awareness strategies like this past summer's extreme heat that was affecting a significant amount of our communities. The California Volunteers oversees incredible volunteerism and capacity building programs, including the California Climate Action Corps, AmeriCorps in California, and College Corps. The Military Affairs Program coordinates with the U.S. Department of Defense and local governments on land use, economic development, and cybersecurity issues. Military operations in California, such as the Presidio of Monterey, contribute billions of dollars to the California economy annually. Just this year, we established the Racial Equity Commission within OPR by executive order from the governor, which and a commission that will chart the state's path forward in embedding and operationalizing racial equity in our policies, practices, and investments, and provide technical assistance to local governments in their racial equity efforts. And then early next year, we'll establish the Youth Empowerment Commission to improve communication and meaningful collaboration between California's youth and the governor, state agencies, and the legislature. I just put that out because part of it is this is an unprecedented time in all of these issues, from climate to economic development, equity, and they're all interrelated. I know our office is primarily around land use. My bias is I think everything leads to land use, all of these issues. So we're trying to connect the dots not only at OPR, but by the governor's direction across all state agencies. So that's kind of the focus. But today I want to discuss briefly the governor's priorities and, in the context of today's theme, driving regional economic recovery and development in the Central Coast, talk about the state's investment in economic development that is regionally driven, equitable, climate aligned, and creates quality jobs for people in the area. Late last year, the governor signed Executive Order N1622 outlining steps the state will take to advance equity in all its policies, forms, and practices. It established the Racial Equity Commission, as I mentioned, within my office, and directed state agencies and departments to embed equity into their missions, policies, investments, and practices. Equity is at the very heart of the governor's vision for California for All, and it applies to everything we do at OPR. For example, our branches are committing to invest a minimum of 40% of total climate investments into California's disadvantaged communities. And in some branches, that number is closer to 90%. We are institutionalizing technical assistance across our agency to ensure all communities can access state investments. We're working in close partnership with community-based organizations, ethnic radio and television stations, and other trusted local institutions to ensure all Californians, including those who don't speak English or rely on mainstream media, have access to the information and resources they need to stay safe against climate impacts like extreme heat. Equity also means empowering communities and opening avenues for our most vulnerable populations to have a seat at the decision-making table, as Tara mentioned earlier, including the regional collaborations that are driving the California Jobs First program, formerly known as the Community Economic Resiliency Fund. In California, these bottom-up regional collaboratives, including the Uplift Central Coast Collaborative that represents this region, are a significant step forward in ensuring that growth in California benefits all, rather than just the few. The California Jobs First program was born in response to two significant forces in California in 2019. The first was that a large part of California's economic growth in recent decades has been narrowly focused on the technology industry and residents in major metropolitan areas. The second was the lack of economic growth in other parts of California and long-standing disinvestments, as I was discussing with Larry earlier. When COVID hit, disparities in health, wealth, and other life outcomes within predominantly Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities became unmistakable. The California Jobs First program takes a different approach to economic development by bringing diverse partners and voices together to strategize on the future of their regions. This approach plays to the regional strength, considers specific climate risks, and addresses the disparities and vulnerabilities impacting communities within each region. Central to this program is a commitment by all parties to ensure that communities traditionally left out of the public process are brought into this collaboration, supported financially for their participation, and have an equal vote in decisions made as part of each region's collaborative governance structure. This has never been done at this scale before in the state. Research shows that the more diverse representation there is in our public decision-making spaces, the more equitable outcomes will be. Part of the governor's motivation to change the name of the program, formerly known as SURF, was to make it more accessible. What do I mean by that? Let me briefly talk about why it is a different approach, and it's a change was needed in the name, but also the approach. Here are some statistics that it's trying to address from the Central Coast that my team compiled why this kind of approach is important just within this region. Santa Barbara and Ventura counties are more diverse than 2/3 of the nation's largest 115 metro areas, and the region is a mix of coastal, urban, suburban, and rural areas, with communities ranging from predominantly Latinx, indigenous migrant, and immigrant farm worker settlements to majority white, affluent enclaves, resulting in significant stratification between the two. Between 1979 and 2018, the highest income earners in the region saw their real incomes grow by 20%, while the lowest earners saw their incomes shrink nearly by 20%. These patterns are similar to those in many other regions across California and highlight three critical considerations as we move forward, specifically on this program, but in all of other investments as well. The first is that a commitment to equity, along with solid understanding of disparities within our communities, must be at the core of our decisions. Decisions around investments and strategies, whether it's related to the economy, climate change, or infrastructure planning and delivery. The second is that we must continue to diversify who sits at the table. Building inclusive decision-making and cross-sector partnerships will lead to better outcomes for more people and strengthen resilience and social cohesion within our communities. And then last, addressing climate change impacts and inequities is California's next frontier and a source of economic growth and prosperity. This includes leveraging renewable energy sources, strengthening the state's care economy, retrofitting sectors like agriculture and construction to be more climate-friendly and just, and activating small businesses along main streets. The potential for this region alone is staggering. With the recent offshore wind project in Morro Bay, a thriving agriculture sector, excellent universities and colleges, Vandenberg Space Force Base, and many, many more assets, including Fort Ord, properties that the university owns. With unprecedented state and federal investment supporting the state's transition away from fossil fuels, today we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to meaningfully address the climate crisis and equity while creating good jobs. These chances don't come very often, and I would assure you, I think in my lifetime, I've never seen this kind of alignment and investment from the federal government to state to local regions like we're experiencing now. And if we miss the opportunity, it will be another generation before that opportunity comes back. So to date, the $600 million California Jobs First program has invested $5 million in California's 13 regions to begin inclusive economic planning, with an additional $3.4 million invested in the Central Coast as part of the initial set of pilot projects demonstrating how regions can transition to more sustainable, climate-friendly industries and improve access to good jobs. In early 2024, each region will be awarded $14 million to develop economic development pilots and projects that are ready for over $200 million in implementation funds through the program, as well as available federal investments through acts like the CHIPS and Science Act, Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act, and the Inflation Reduction Act. To ensure tribes are included in this work and can lead economic development within their communities, the program has a $25 million tribal set aside. Our next milestone for the program is to produce community-engaged research on what it means to advance equity through a program such as this one, including defining metrics to benchmark if and how the program is producing better outcomes in communities across the state. California's Jobs First program is part of a $1 billion and growing investment in building California's economy for all. This is part of a much larger investment to combat climate change and protect communities from its extreme impacts, totaling about $48 billion over several years. The governor has ambitious goals, as you know, to achieve carbon neutrality by 2045 and build an additional 2.5 million homes in the next decade, and deliver infrastructure that aligns with California's climate and equity goals faster than any other state. I want to emphasize that the state will not be successful in its goals without strong collaboration and communications with partners like you. It is a critical part of the whole journey to have cross-sector partnerships to be able to actually take advantage of and meet the moments that we're in. The background of the naming shift to California Jobs First is to invite each of California's economic regions to define what a California job is for their specific community. It's not one size fits all. So each region needs to define what a good job and transition from fossil fuel economy could mean for their region, because we all have different contexts. It's also to the point that open-ended to foster conversations about the kinds of jobs that regions can be proud of, jobs that support families, build industries of the future, and foster prosperity in places. The world looks to California for new ideas and progress, and the work to demonstrate how innovation and inclusion come together in our economy is already at work here in the Central Coast. Thank you to each and every one of you for your efforts, and I look forward to learning more and collaborating with my office as we really take advantage of this time that we're in and focus on how we really advance equity, good jobs, and respond to the moment. So thank you, and I wish you well at the conference. Thank you.